You wade laboriously through the knee-deep moonlit muck. Your instincts scream for you to move faster, but the swamp seizes you at every moment as you sink in mud and are grabbed by branches and vines. You power through. Your life depends on it. You've been on the move since sundown, an indeterminate length of time ago. At one point you collapse upon a patch of thick grass. It is almost a welcome relief, like a soft bed in a tavern after a long week of adventuring. But as you look up, you see a lake of bubbling, corrosive liquid blocking your path, stretching further than the eye can see to either side, and far too wide to leap across, especially in your vigor-starved state. You see the half-dissolved boot of your former companion. This is the third time you've seen it. You've gone in circles again. You grip tightly to a wet, pus-covered rock as you raise yourself to your numb feet once again. You look for the fallen tree that had bridged the lake before. It is gone. You spot claw prints in the mud, each one almost as large as you. You follow them with your eyes while using the slime-covered rock as cover. The prints lead to where the fallen tree once was, and they loop around a small copse, veering back until they stop right next to you. Another claw print appears in the mud behind you. The fetid stench of decay overwhelms your senses, and a guttural growl, almost mimicking demonic laughter, precedes the revelation that the black dragon has found you. Hello everyone, I am Brass, and welcome to the first Brass Bestiary video, where I will be talking about black dragons and how I would run them as a DM. Black dragons are meant to be the most evil of the chromatic dragons. Now, what does that actually mean? Because when you look at the monster manual and you read through it on the dragons, especially in 5e, it's always like, right, red dragon's the most evil dragon, blue dragon's the most evil dragon, green dragon's the most, like, listen. Right. I'm going to define why black dragons are actually the most evil dragon. So red dragons would fly over your village and just burn everything to ash. And you're going to end up torched as like collateral. The red dragon probably didn't even know you existed. Okay? It was just flying over. It saw a village it didn't like the look of. Gone. Or it saw a village it did like the look of, and half of it's gone, and then the other half's like, right, you're going to give me all your gold, and then I'll torch you straight afterwards. Blue dragons might use you as a pawn to be sacrificed to gain power. Right? They're the sort of dragon that will see a tomb and be like, I want what's inside that tomb, but I'm too big to fit. So, minions, dudes, okay? I want you to go in that tomb, and I want you to, like, get the treasure for me. Don't worry, it's perfectly safe. And you go in there, okay? And you spring every single trap in the tomb. And then only once all the traps are sprung and you're all dead, then the blue dragon goes, yeah, I was only kidding. I can actually just, like, turn myself into a humanoid form and fit quite perfectly. But thanks for springing all the traps for me. And then in they go. Green dragons will slowly manipulate your kingdom and cause political strife over generations. Normally they target, like, the monarchy. And they'll be like, hey, by the way, so you know that ambassador of that kingdom over there? Okay, that just entered your palace? Yeah? He calls you fat as fuck. And at that point, like, the green dragon loves watching, like, the political strife, the civil wars. Okay, knowing that it was directly involved. Now, black dragons don't tend to get directly involved with the downfall of kingdoms. They can do sometimes, if they feel like it. But they just like outlasting kingdoms. Like, they want to see a kingdom rise and fall naturally, just knowing that it didn't last as long as the dragon. But in terms of their personality, this is why they're the most evil dragon, okay? Black dragons kill for the fun of killing. They're like horror movie monsters. Like, imagine the alien from Alien, but 20 foot tall. Wait, that's actually such a good idea for a matchup. Who wins, Ancient Black Dragon or the Alien Queen from Alien vs. Predator? But they embody that dark horror theme perfectly. From their terrifying presence to their hunting behaviours. They will stalk you and your party as silently as a spider while it searches for your weaknesses. It might wait until you've set up camp, only to pop out while you sleep and just acid breath your weakest party member before dragging them away into a lake of fetid water or corrosive fluids. It then revels in what follows, which is you and your party are terrified. You're frantically searching for your missing party member or the creature that took them, and maybe it snatched the rogue who was the best man at your wedding or something, and now he's gone in a blink, and you might not even know what hit you. Then, over the course of days, the dragon will hunt you down, picking off party members one by one until only you remain. Then, it will continue the hunt for a few more days, maybe even weeks, depending on how bored it is. It will grant you hope in the form of an exit, or by allowing you to think that you've lost it. Like, imagine you're at the edge of the swamp. You could see your village in the distance on a hill, peaceful meadows and things. And you're like, I finally made it out. It's been 3 weeks. I'm actually out of here. I've actually done it. I can escape. Finally. And you take like one more step and then the dragon just appears in front of you. And it's like, where do you think you're going? Like, it will do that to you like 50 times until you are reduced to like a maddened, terrifying, despair-filled state. You are just like a slobbering mess on the floor. Then it will kill you, right? And it will leave your body to rot for ages and ages before actually eating you, because black dragons love the taste of decaying flesh. If they open a pack of ham and it doesn't smell like death, they're not interested. Okay? So even though black dragons do like to hunt you down personally, they also still like having minions. So I like to imagine several tribes of lizard folk who the dragon has ruled over for hundreds of years, and even their wisest elders do not recall a time when he was not the lord of these lands. These lizard folk might be fanatically loyal to the dragon because it's all they've known their entire lives, even if the dragon will occasionally just like snatch one in the night when he's hungry. Maybe they think of it as like a vengeful deity they must appease with sacrifices and offerings. Or something along those lines. Then you could have Yuan Ti, right? The snake dudes. The ones that were problematic in 5e. They might also worship the dragon, but they would be much more powerful and higher up than the lizard folk. Okay? So they might act as the dragon's main servants. Perhaps they're like the only living creatures he actually allows into his lair. Because, you know, most dragons are paranoid and they don't really want to get betrayed. So they don't... A lot of dragons don't like having living servants in their lair in case they get a little bit too ambitious. But their worship of the dragon would be treating him as an entity of fear and death. So perhaps they actually worship Dendar the Night Serpent, and knowing that she feeds on nightmares, they essentially encourage the Black Dragon to strike fear into the region to create more terrifying nightmares for Dendar to feed upon. Right? So they're literally going around like, dude, I really love the way that that guy was absolutely terrified, but like, could you at least like leave him alive for a few more days so that every time he sleeps he's going to have horrendous nightmares, and then feed on him? And the Black Dragon would be like, yeah, man, that's exactly what I want to do. So, the next thing, slimes and oozes, okay? They're going to reside around the dragon's lair. Perhaps even inside the dragon's lair. Because they're technically living creatures. It probably won't even treat them as minions to do its bidding, because slimes are hardly sentient. Okay. But they can't harm the Black Dragon, because they're acid. And so it allows them to exist just to protect its layers from intruders. Like, they're just mindlessly minding their own business, swimming around in a lake of acid, loving it, flourished in their lane, all that type of thing. And any adventurers who get too close, the slimes eat them. Perfect. Okay. Now, undead may also be found in the swamplands of a black dragon. If the dragon is old enough and has the knowledge, maybe it raised the dead itself. But if not, maybe there's like a necromancer using the dark swamp to practice his forbidden magic. And the dragon strikes a deal with him, saying he can continue to live and do his thing as long as his undead protect the swamp and work for the dragon. Now, in terms of more powerful creatures the dragon might ally itself with, you could consider a Death Knight or a Lich in the same region which commands a vast undead host. And as maybe they've entered a deal with the dragon, okay? If the dragon is an adult, the Death Knight or Lich might have actually been the one issuing the terms of the deal. But if it's ancient, perhaps it sees the Lich as any old necromancer that it's just allowing to exist. Right? Because, you know, dragons, sometimes they're a little bit too arrogant for their own good. A Lich and an ancient dragon are actually the same challenge rating, and a Lich would... Well, actually, that being said, Lich's HP is terrible. The Lich would probably still win, right? It would still find a way to win, okay? But, if the Black Dragon deems the Lich or Death Knight too great a threat, or if there's a party of like tier 3 to 4 adventurers in his swamp searching for him, maybe he'll try paying those adventurers to deal with the bigger threat first, while he works out a way to betray them. Right, get the others to do his dirty work for him. Because black dragons are actually cowards. Right, if they meet resistance, or their ambush fails completely, they will flee quickly and have minions take over. Like, maybe you're a high level party and you were ready for its attack, right? Your cleric keeps you all healed and motivated. The wizard has true sight and scans their surroundings. They're always alert, right? In this situation, the dragon will do anything it can to weaken you and tire you out. It might not be able to kill you as you rest, but it can deny you rest. Right? The black dragons love to outlast things, so that's what it'll try and do. As it commands undead, perhaps like wraiths and ghosts harass you each night. Maybe they're not even like attacking you, they're just like nearby and they're just wailing all night long, like your next door neighbor's baby at 3 AM. Okay. Now, according to its 5e stat block, it can also summon swarms of insects as like I think it's a Lair action. Now, those might not be exactly powerful, but nobody is going to sleep when there's a million bees flying around their camp. Right? Or mosquitoes. Also, it might go for the equipment instead of the players. Right? If the players are too strong, it might wait for you to like drop your sword as you rest, and it will just sneak up and snatch it from the shadows. Right? You turn around, where the fuck is my Holy Avenger? Where's my Staff of the Archmage? Right? Or it will acid breath your tent and supplies. So instead of going for you, it will wait for you to get all your supplies all boxed up or whatever, and set up. And it'll come along, fly over, acid breath, psst. Sorry, boys. No eating tonight. And also, most of the food in its swamp is probably going to be, like, deadly. It can command the water around its lair, too. It's a lair action, it can do it. So if you're, like, really close to its lair, it could maybe make your camp flood with horrible fetid water, which will spoil your food and just piss you off. Okay? Like, the Black Dragon will use any underhanded tactic it can to get the advantage. This is just what it does when it's faced with strong, like, adversaries, such as a high-level group or, like, a rival dragon. So, I've mentioned its lair, like, a bunch of times now, okay? So, in terms of its lair, I like to imagine that it's in the ruins of some castle in the middle of a lake filled with stagnant water or acid. The castle might have belonged to a powerful king or lord long ago, but now nothing of that kingdom exists, and the dragon has successfully outlived it. Mission accomplished. Right? So it's set up its lair in the castle. Now, around the lair would be slimes, as I mentioned earlier, and maybe within the castle itself, there's the UNT and undead that the dragon raised personally, as it wouldn't trust undead it can't directly command. Right? It doesn't want any chance of betrayal going on. But the true lair of the dragon would actually be deep beneath the lake. You would have to swim through the lake of acid just to get to it. Right? Visibility would be non-existent, and it would have countless false tunnels designed for you to like swim through and come to a dead end, so you end up lost and drowning or dissolving if you don't have acid resistance. Like, if you've ever watched deep sea diving videos and you got dudes going in these really like deep caves and they get lost and they can't find the way out and then they drown, okay? Like, imagine that, except the sea is acid. Right? And there's a black dragon down there. Maybe he'll even try and like fight you in the water while you can't fight back. Like, no more fireballs, okay? Now, black dragons, they're immune to acid, obviously, and they're aquatic. So they can very easily traverse these tunnels. They can breathe underwater, right? And they can breathe under acid, too. Spells like Mold Earth could allow you to like dig down from the castle grounds into the lair, but the dragon would likely know you're doing this, and it would prepare like a trap below, like a fresh pool of acid or spikes. Also, its treasure should be pretty much inaccessible through normal means. Like, wherever the group goes, just expect them to start swimming through acid to get there. Right? So, if you got acid immunities, it's great. However, the dragon would probably know this, right? It sees you're not dissolving. It can still try and do guerrilla warfare tactics to you underwater. Because even if you're immune to the acid, you're still having to swim through the acid. Okay, unless you've got like a Triton or someone with a swim speed, it's going to be very, very difficult, right? Now, obviously, you could prepare with like rings of swimming and stuff for that, like, but let's assume you haven't got those, okay? Right, the dragon ain't going to assume you got them, right? Now, even young black dragons could actually have a dangerous lair. So Jack, the Lost Law Scholar, right, he ran a young black dragon in his game, which was pretty much just a side quest, and his name was Umbrax. And he lived in this ruined tower in the marshes. Didn't have much of a presence yet, but the lair itself was surrounded by deep water, which hid black puddings, okay, which are far deadlier than they sound. And they sprang out, there's these black slimes, right, they sprung out of the water and they engulfed the cleric, right, the cleric died because the dragon cast darkness upon the cleric and did hit and run tactics with acid breath while the slimes were eating him. Right, that's good synergy with its minions, okay? Now, an older dragon might have the main chamber of its lair slowly fill with acid or poisonous water as the fight progresses. Like, if it's backed into a corner and can't escape, it will do what it's known for. It's going to try and outlast you. Maybe it has a deeper pool of water in its chamber which it can hide in, while the lair, like, slowly floods, right? Now, in terms of mechanics of the dragon, right? Because this is the most important part. I want this ancient dragon to actually be a challenging fight for a tier 4 group. Like, bro, how do you challenge a tier 4 group? I know, man. I'm going to tell you how. Exactly, okay? So, black dragons, like most of the 5e dragon stat blocks, are strong, they're alright, but they're easily susceptible to cheese. Like, they're immune to basically no conditions, and are usually the prime example of a BBG that dies in 2 rounds to your party if not used correctly. Right? Now, here's my DM advice. My brass advice. Okay? Do not play black dragons, or any dragon for that matter, 100% true to its lore. Because if you do this, your players will never actually be able to fight the thing. And you shouldn't aim to kill your players or just piss them off. Like, at the end of the day, if you're like, right, let's go fight an epic, like a cool black dragon, and all you do is just the most annoying shit, and it literally cannot be touched, then eventually the players are just going to get tired and just fuck off. And you might be like, but the black dragon harasses, it stops you from leaving. Like, they'll fuck off from the table, okay? So don't try and do that. Don't at the end of the day, the dragon, no matter what dragon you're running, still needs to be beatable with the tools that the players have at their disposal. Right? Don't design encounters around something that none of your players are able to overcome, because at that point you've soft locked them from progressing, and they're just going to be like, well, that was shit. That was what a horrible way to end a campaign. Okay. Now, that being said, here's a few abilities I would give to an Ancient Black Dragon to actually make it genuinely strong, without pissing off your players, but still like really strong. Okay. So here we are again, right, with the Google Docs. Okay, look at this fantastic image I put together. Very high effort, right? So this is a brief rundown of an Ancient Black Dragon stat blocks. Now, most of what I'm about to say you can also apply to an adult Black Dragon, but remember that an adult Black Dragon, realistically, you're going to be running that for, like, at most a level 10 group, alright? Because anything higher will just stomp it. So, be careful. Again, look, don't try... Your aim shouldn't just be to TPK your whole party, right? But you want to make it terrifying. So here we are. We have the HP, 367. CR21 creature is not bad. It's better than most of the Demon Lords. AC 22, also better than most of the Demon Lords, but like I kept saying in that video, might as well say 0. At least a tier 4 of play, right? Speed, 40 feet. Fly, 80 feet. It's also got 40-foot swim speed, okay? Pretty good mobility. CR21, now remember, when we add the stuff that I'm about to add to this monster, right? Technically, it's no longer a CR21 creature. I don't know what the actual CR is, but CR is not important. What matters is that this is supposed to be designed for, I would say, a level like 18 to 90 group. Level 20s are obviously going to stomp it. But tier 4, like early to mid tier 4 play, alright? DPR, that is damage per round, for those of you who don't know. 56 plus 51. So the 56 comes from its Bite, Claw, Claw, which most 5e dragons do. And the 51 is assuming that it will get off 3 tail attack legendary actions per round. So altogether, that means he does about 107 damage per round. That is actually quite low for this level of play. A lot of the Demon Lords were hitting for 150. Like 130. Okay. Now, it does have a breath attack, which does 67 acid damage. It's a 120-foot line, I believe. 67 acid damage on average. With a DC 22 dex save. The DC is quite high. The damage is quite low. But it does technically mean that if it has its breath attack, it is worth it to do the breath attack over its Bite, Claw, Claw. Right, some of the younger dragons, the Bite, Claw, Claw actually does more damage than the breath attack, unless the breath attack can hit multiple targets. It's got a +9 to its dexterity, saving throw, constitution +14, wisdom +9, charisma +11. Decent stats. It's, you know, it could shrug off low rolls from spells and things. Now, its perceptions are +16. That's actually huge. It means it has a passive perception of 26. Its stealth is a +9. Now, that sounds big, but it actually isn't. Tier 4 of play, you've probably got someone with high wisdom that is really good at perception check. Like, if you've got like a ranger or a cleric or something, they could spot it quite easily. It's immune to acid, obviously, and it is amphibious. Right, so those are its basic... That's a basic rundown of its existing stats. Now, here's what I would add to the monster. I don't want to change its stats. I mean, anyone can go, well, I'm going to give my Black Dragon 10,000 HP and 400 AC, and therefore, you know, it's the most unstoppable dragon ever. I want to keep its basic stats exactly the same. I'm just going to add a couple of existing abilities, none of these are homebrew, onto the dragon to make it more of a threat. Okay? So first of all, I would give it, and I'd give any other dragon this as well, magic resistance. I don't know why they don't have magic resistance. Like I said earlier, they're very susceptible to cheese. So I would give it magic resistance, which for those of you who don't know, means it has advantage on saving throws against magical effects and spells. Right? Which I think that suits a ancient dragon. Or an adult dragon. Okay? Now, I treat black dragons like rogues. Okay? They're like the rogue of the dragons. They're the Gloomstalker Ranger of the dragons. Right? Now, because of this, I would give it a rogue sneak attack. Now, as it's a CR 21 monster, I'm giving it a level 20 rogue sneak attack, which is 10d6, an average of 35 damage. Now, it can do this once per turn. So it can add it once to its bite, claw, so let's say it adds it to its bite. That's an extra 35 damage. That means the DPR for that round would be 91, provided it meets the conditions to get a sneak attack off. Which means if there's an ally within 5 feet of the enemy, or if it has advantage on its attacks. Okay. It could also add it to a tail attack. It could add it to every tail attack if it has advantage on those tail attacks. Right? So, theoretically, you could be racking up the damage. But, let's say that it doesn't add it to its tail attackers. There's not many examples where it would have advantage on every single tail attack. It has a DPR now of 142, which is much better. And again, if let's say the enemy's prone, you've knocked it prone somehow, maybe with a wing attack, then tail attack, then it can start adding on massive damage. In terms of spells, the 5e dragons don't have spellcasting, but the 2024 do. But here's what I would give a black dragon, okay? I would give it invisibility. That is actually what I've been referring to. I assume black dragons have invisibility at this point. When I read the short story at the beginning of this video, the footprints appearing in the mud, that, if you didn't realise, was because the dragon was invisible. I would give it darkness, like Jack used in his encounter, because I forgot to include it here, but all the dragons, believe, have blind sight. Okay? So it can see through darkness. Non-detection, which is a spell, I think it's a 3rd level spell, which allows it to be undetectable through magical means. Okay? So that means scrying and divination cannot detect it. So your wizard might be there, oh, hold on a minute, let me cast scrying to see where the dragon is, and they just get nothing. Okay? Pass without a trace, that is a spell that rangers get. It gives you a +10 to stealth checks. So that fixes its +9, and I would also give it advantage on stealth, as long as it's in its swamp. Right, if it's out in the field, no, but like in its swamp, I think it should get advantage on its stealth checks. So that, overall, is how I would run a black dragon, right? To summarise, give it some extra abilities, treat it like a horror movie villain, a monster, okay? Like a demon, okay? This thing is stealthy, it is evil, and your players should be terrified of it. And when they do finally assault its lair, they're going to have to be willing to swim through lakes of acid and diseased water just to get to what they want. Black dragons are the most evil of the chromatic dragons, and they are perhaps the most terrifying as well. Thank you for watching. I've been Brass. This is the first Brass Bestiary. See you around.